Terrifying and insane YouTube shorts you should not watch at night. What's good? How your day going? Your morning, evening, night, whenever watching this video. I'm not about to talk your ears off. You want to check out the original? Link will be in the description below, but let's go.
Gruesome Facts You Didn't Know, Part 133. In 1990, a Japanese schoolgirl had her skull crushed for being late to school. The school's gates were to be closed at exactly 8:30 to teach the students a lesson about promptness. As the girl attempted to slip through the gate at the very last second, a teacher decided to close it anyway, crushing her skull. If a Viking warrior was wounded in the stomach during a battle, they would be fed a strong, pungent onion soup. They would then smell the wounds to try to find that signature onion smell. If it was detected, they knew the stomach wall was cut and the man would not survive. These are some of the last photos taken by photographer Robert Landsberg at the eruption of Mount St. Helens. Knowing he was going to die, he placed his camera in his backpack and laid on top of it, saving
photos with disturbing backstories.
The hell?
At first glance, this photo looks pretty normal. But when you start to look closer, you can actually see this path right here, and then another path that drops off the side. This photo was actually snapped by Kurt Dimberger. Him and his companion climbed this mountain and then tried to return, but only Kurt was able to return. His companion ended up veering off of Kurt's path and ended up falling off this little ledge right here. His name was Herman Buhl, and he's still in the ice to this day. And for the second photo, we have this unassuming photo of JP Morgan and Laia Graf. The woman to the left, Laia Graf, became an overnight sensation when she joined the circus. But when she couldn't deal with this overwhelming attention, she ended up moving back to her home country, Germany. And this was during World War II, so you can see where this is going. She was later arrested when she came back for being an unfit human and was sent to an encampment where she ended up losing her life. Follow for part 5.
Legend or Lie number 33, the M Show kidnapping. First off, let me start by saying the M Show is a pseudonym for a real show that this story is allegedly based on, but what that show is exactly, I'm not sure, but we'll get to that at the end. Now let's begin. 9-year-olds Emily, Nicole, and Bree were 3 best friends and neighbors who loved the M Show, an educational show with a mixture of actors and costume characters. They got together and watched it every day. They all enjoyed the show, but Bree was like a super fan, and one day she found an ad in the magazine promoting the M Show fan club. All they had to do was take a quiz and send in the correct answers, and they'd be part of the fan club. So that night after watching the show, they huddled together and they took the quiz. The quiz was surprisingly difficult, and without Bree, there's no way they would have been able to get them all right. They happily sent the answers off, and nothing came of it for quite a while. Slowly, Emily and Nicole lost interest in the M Show, and only Bree was still watching it religiously every single night. But then, a few months later, they finally came. Their brand new M Show fan club membership cards. Now they were back on it, watching the show every single night. A few months later, they got even more mail from the M Show saying that they now had a chance to become exclusive members.
Of course.
The cast was going to be in town soon, and all the kids had to do was come down for a meet and greet, and they'd be exclusive. They were pumped, and I get it. I can only imagine how stoked I would have been if it was like meet and greet with the Power Rangers back when I was that age. So anyway, the day finally came, and Bree was ready to go with her mom, and Emily wanted to go so bad with them, but her mom insisted she had to wait for Nicole, so Bree left with her mom, and Emily was sickened. She was actually pretty upset with Nicole for making her late, because she wanted to be first in line, and she was jealous of Bree as she pulled away with her mom. Emily gave her a little solemn wave, not realizing it would be the last time she ever saw her friend. Part 2 is up now.
Damn. What? Who edited this video, dog? I'm not about to play with this crap today, dog. That sound good too. But let's say scariest urban legends from each state. Part 5. I bet part 4 fire. Michigan. New Michigan, Hell's Bridge, Michigan. What is that? Did you know that hell is a real place on earth? It's a small town in Michigan. What the hell? Official. Oh, I think I know about that. I think it is. I heard about this spot before. It's actually legit called hell. Okay, yeah. I remember this. Hearing about this. Blah. There's some sound on the next one. I just
Part 2. In October 1970, a couple reported seeing a man dressed in a white suit and wearing bunny ears who began yelling at them that they were on private property. It was then theorized that this man was the Bunny Man, an urban legend about an escaped mental patient in Virginia who took to gutting teens and hanging them from a bridge underpass. Locals were cautioned to never be caught near the underpass, which is now known to most people as the Bunnyman Bridge.
A case that literally made me sick. Oh yeah, I know about this one.
2018, Tamla Horsford, a 40-year-old mother of 5, was having a slumber party with her group of friends who called themselves football moms. The following morning, police found Tamla dead in the backyard, covered in multiple bruises. Police ruled the death as an accident, stating that she'd most likely fallen off the porch while intoxicated. However, Tamla's family was unsure, so they had a second autopsy done which showed that she had several cuts to her arms and legs as well. This finding, along with strange differences in the witness testimonies and a confusing log of the back door of the house opening and closing repeatedly, led the family to believe that their mother's death was not an accident, it was homicide. Because of the movement protesting the murder of George Floyd, the case was reopened, but still, it was ruled an accident.
Let me tell y'all about the worst animal attack you've never heard of. Sergeant Silvio Delmar Hollenbach was off duty and spending the day at the zoo with his wife and 4 kids, when they heard the commotion of people panicking and screaming hysterically. Apparently, a kid had fallen into the enclosure of one of the most dangerous animals in the entire zoo. Not only were they already highly territorial, but there was a newborn in there, which only made them more aggressive. You want to know what animals those were? Giant river otters. About 20 of them, all surrounding the 13-year-old and very likely about to tear him to shreds. Hollenbach immediately jumped in and managed to lift the already severely injured boy out of the moat and into safety. But before he could get out, the otters caught him and dragged him underwater.
Damn.
Keep in mind these things can be 6 feet long, they clap caiman, and flex on jaguars. Silvio was brutally mauled, suffering over 100 bite wounds, all while his entire family could only watch. He eventually escaped, but the bites and the filthy water meant he passed away 3 days later in a military hospital to infection. The kid he saved grew up and went on to be arrested for embezzling millions, so yeah. He went out a hero, but imagine being an officer and thinking you're gonna end life in the heat of battle, only for a gang of water weasels to put you out. Also, apparently the kid never said thank you, so the real moral of the story, yeah.
F them kid. 3 a.m. is known as the devil's hour because it is said that during this hour, the vial, my bad, don't know that word, vial between our world and the paranormal world is at its thinnest.
First games you should never play. Part 18. The Game of Waiting. This game gives you the opportunity to earn a very valuable prize. To start this game you will need to pick a day, but make it special like your birthday or something like that. Go to your calendar and mark the day before this day. Until that day comes you can do whatever you like, but gather a match and something to burn. When that day comes, burn whatever you picked. Focus on the flame and say the words, "Tomorrow is a special day." Make it really special. Now reach out touching the flame, and as it begins to burn, pull back. This is when the game begins. From that point until midnight, do not go to sleep and do not let that flame go out. Once midnight strikes, 2 things could happen. If your fire is still going, then the game has failed. But if it goes out on its own, you've completed the game. When you wake up in the morning, something special to you will disappear. But don't look for it because you're not going to find it. However, 2 items will have taken its place. These items will be of equal value to whatever you lost. This is your prize.
These things are oddly terrifying. First
That
on our
sounds
list for
crazy.
this video, we have this potato that was pulled out of a garden, and it looks like a hand. Honestly, it looks like it could be used as a prop in a horror movie, so that's a big no. We're throwing out that potato. In at number 2, we have this shocking advert that was discovered in a newspaper or a magazine, I'm not too sure which, but it's targeted at people that want to lose fat. For those that want to read it themselves, you can pause it right here.
Boys, what it say? Eat fat, eat, and always stay thin. Fat banish. How will sanitize tapeworms?
But for those that are not really wanting to read this, it's basically advertising to eat tapeworms, which live inside of you, they're parasites, and they eat your food. This is a crazy, crazy way to lose weight. Yes, you'll lose weight, but there's a lot of other health complications with it, and no danger. There we go. And finally, for our last video, we have this gecko shedding its skin. Takes it off, it looks pretty odd, and then cute, yes, but also I do think it falls into the oddly terrifying category. Follow for the next part.
That's nasty, dog.
Yes, but also I do think it falls into
Dog,
the
you
oddly
just
terrifying
ate it like it
category.
was delicious.
Follow for the next part.
3 creepiest hidden rooms found in people's homes. Number 1, creepy bedroom peepholes.
It all started with two people just house hunting until they stumbled across something weird in the basement. They came across peepholes in the basement stairs and noticed that behind the basement stairs had pretty much been used as someone's bedroom. The brick walls were covered in messages like "No watching Isaiah through the hole," "No writing or drawing on the walls," and "Stop watching me." Number 2, room behind bookcase with unwanted guest. Behind a bookcase in the parents' bedroom of a family home was a spiral staircase. The staircase led to a room full of sweet wrappers and items that had been taken from the house, which suggested someone was living there. The owners fled the house and it was boarded up. Number 3, religious hideaway. The Farless family came across a strange metal grid in their house, and after 3 years of wondering what was beneath it, they finally decided to investigate. They found a mysterious brick room there which had a large stone symbol of what appeared to be a religious cross.
Nigga, what the hell?
なんだ何ですか
That's a pretty creepy ghost video. I ain't gonna lie to you, dog.
And sing this little song. Run, rabbit, run, rabbit. Run, run, run. Run, rabbit.
I can see me doing some ish like that when I move out of my house. I ain't gonna lie to you, dog.
Run, run.
Display too much.
Run, rabbit, run, rabbit. Run, run, run.
These things are oddly terrifying. Seeing as the holidays are coming up, I decided to include this photo. This is a snowman that was made in Turkey back in 1929. Imagine not knowing that this was a snowman and walking down the street late at night and seeing this. I'd be running the other way. In at number 2, we have this mutation of these frogs. The mutation causes their eyes to be placed on the inside of their mouth rather than where they normally would sit. I would absolutely hate having to have my mouth open all the time just to be able to see. And finally, in at number 3, this is what happens when you put salt water on fresh mussels. Take a look. The reason for this is because the sodium ions act like signals from the brain, stimulating the muscle to move. And when they're fresh mussels, this works even better. Follow for the next part.
This fact sounds so ridiculous that you're gonna swear I made it up, but I challenge you to Google it after this. According to researchers in Japan, chimpanzees actually enjoy horror movies. In this study, chimps found most human films boring, but they showed interest whenever there were scenes of aggression, because chimps don't understand English as much as they understand violence. The researchers gave the chimps juice while watching, and some of them were so invested that they ignored the juice and just focused on the movie. And using eye tracking technology, they found that after a couple of viewings, the chimps could actually anticipate what weapon was about to be used. Like if there was a hammer on screen, the chimp's eyes would focus on that, like they knew what was finna happen. So now you're probably asking, what movie were they watching? Basically, they had an actor dress as King Kong and attack a human, and then later get de-lifed by a man with a hammer. Why they would show a black Air Force with 2 thumbs and 0 guard for human life, something like that, I can't tell you. He's done some pretty morally suspect things and called it science. But if we ever get Planet of the Apes, just know it ain't come from nowhere.
Selfies that were taken seconds before death, Part 2. Businessman Gia Lajuna attempted to take a selfie with a 1.5-ton walrus at a zoo in China. After climbing into the enclosure, the walrus grabbed him from behind, dragged him underneath the water, drowning him in a matter of minutes. Chinese daredevil Wu Yongjing was an Instagram celebrity best known for taking selfies on top of skyscrapers. While trying to take a selfie on top of a skyscraper in 2017, he lost his grip, falling 62 stories to his death. In 2014, during Spain's annual Running of the Bulls event, 32-year-old David Gonzalez decided to stop and take a selfie in front of 2 bulls that were colliding behind him. All of a sudden, a third bull that he didn't see came from his side and gored him to death. Bulls that were colliding behind him. All of a sudden, a third bull that he didn't see came from his side and gored him to death.
Photos with disturbing backstories. This unassuming photo right here is the first photo we're going to talk about in this video. The primary person in the photo we'll pay attention to is Franklin Floyd right here. In his arms, he's holding his stepdaughter, Suzanne Savakis. And this is where things get disturbing. Franklin actually ended up kidnapping his stepdaughter and raising her as his own. She was under 10 years old at the time that this happened. While being raised, she went to a variety of different schools under a bunch of different names. But the worst was yet to come. In 1989, 15 years after he had taken her, he ended up marrying her as well. And of course, to add to this story, in 1988, a year before he ended up marrying her, he also had a son with her. Suzanne ended up leaving Floyd in 1990 and ended up passing in a hospital not too long afterwards. Their son Michael was placed into foster care, but of course Franklin ended up taking him and nobody ever saw him again. A normal looking photo with a very disturbing backstory. Cases that were never solved. Part 1. In this video we're going to be talking about the Alphabet murders, which occurred between 1971 to 1973. And as a result of this case, these three girls right here are no longer with us. This case occurred in upstate New York, and the way that this case was named is that each of the first letters of these girls' names here match the first letter in the city that they lived in. For example, Carmen Colon was from Churchville, Michelle Menza in Macedon, and Wanda Walkowitz was from Webster. Hundreds of people were brought in and interviewed in relation to this case, but none of them were convicted. However, this gentleman right here, Joseph Nasso, may be in connection to this case. Joseph Nasso had a very detailed journal going over everything that he had done to these girls. And many, many more. This was truly a bizarre and disturbing case. Follow for part 2.
Scary facts that will blow your mind. Part 1. The middle of nowhere is an actual place within New Mexico. The legend goes that an elderly couple lived out there with their dog and witnessed many strange and bizarre things. One night, they reported seeing a
dog, my nigga.
Dog and witnessed many strange and bizarre things. One night, they reported seeing a strange creature that they identified as a skinwalker. After reporting this to the police, the family had vanished under strange circumstances. Their dog, however, was left behind. This is the story that Courage the Cowardly Dog was based off of. Like and follow for more.
3 more creepy things found frozen in ice. Number 1. Alarming message in a bottle. Paul C. Walker, a geologist, decided to prove glaciers were melting by putting a note in a bottle and burying it underneath rocks near a glacier in 1959. In 2013, 2 researchers found the bottle encased in ice, and frighteningly, the glacier had reduced in height by over 200 feet since Walker wrote the note. Number 2. Perfectly preserved Incan mummy. The body of a 500-year-old Incan mummy was found frozen in ice. What's creepy is that she was so well preserved that she still had lice in her hair. She was found on the edge of a volcano, so it's assumed she was sacrificed by her clan to the volcano as she was carrying many diseases such as tuberculosis. Number 3. Bodies of World War I soldiers. In northern Italy during World War I, there was an avalanche that killed about 10,000 soldiers. Because of global warming, more of them are being thawed out.
Yo, what's up? Here's some scary facts about our world that you probably didn't want to know. Part 37. In 1973, there was a computer program that stated that in 2040, the end of civilization will come. But not only that, this computer program has made many other various accurate predictions that have already happened. There are only 2 days in your life that don't last 24 hours. The day you were born and the day you die. If you ever find yourself having to kill a spider, I'd be careful because that spider could potentially be pregnant. And if you kill it, well, its babies that are inside of it will just go every which direction and all over your house. This is what our nervous system looks like without a skull. In fact, it just looks like a little creature that lives inside of our huge body that controls everything. There was once a psychic who...
That looks so creepy. I was trying to make out what it was for a while. I was analyzing the ish out of it. Finally put it together. Legit looked like something from a movie. Damn. Whew.
This is what our nervous system looks like without a skull. In fact, it just looks like a little creature that lives inside of our huge body that controls everything. There was once a psychic who wanted to prove that he was immortal, so he stabbed himself multiple times and ended up dying, so I guess you could say he wasn't immortal.
These are 8 horrifying facts that will probably keep you up at night. Sometimes you laugh, talk, and cry in sleep. It's often a spirit sitting beside you in bed. You are more likely to be bitten by someone in New York than to be bitten by a shark. A human head remains conscious for 20 seconds after being decapitated. If you search up this number on Google, you'll find people with their heads in fridges. Gelatin is made out of bones. That's right. The melted marshmallow in your hot chocolate is melted animal bone. It's
For
good
real?
stuff. You have no way of really knowing.
I'm still eating marshmallows, but I did not know that.
Chocolate is melted animal bone. It's good stuff. You have no way of really knowing if everyone experiences reality and consciousness the same way you do. If a
Nah, I didn't
panda
think
finds a
about
fresh
that.
carcass, they'll eat it. And last but not least, your phone is likely spying on you right now as you're watching this. Yeah, there's a lot more, like for part 8.
First games you should never play. Part 14, the Dry Bones game. This game could get you anything you can dream of, but you're putting yourself at risk for losing your mind, being killed, or worse. To prepare, close all the doors and windows in your house, and then turn off all the lights. Begin at exactly 12:01. Go into your bathroom and look into the mirror. Make sure everything is silent. If you hear anything, he is already there. Think of something you want. This will be your prize if you win. Strike a match and wait for it to burn out on its own. If it lasts more than 15 seconds, you may continue. Lie down on the floor and recite these words. I am aware of your presence and I welcome you into my home. Go into the biggest room in your house and wait. To know that the game is officially started, you will hear a moan. If you hear anything else, abort. Once you hear this, run to your hiding spot and stay there, but remain completely silent. Remain in this place until 3 a.m. Once this time comes, go back to the biggest room in your house and say thank you for playing, but you must leave now, you are no longer welcome. If you did this right, you will hear another groan signifying that you won, and your prize will be at the door.
Hey, this video definitely picked up, I ain't gonna lie.
This is the time I discovered a dark
I
secret.
thought it was Tourette's at first, I ain't gonna lie. I don't know.
This is the time I discovered a dark secret under the McDonald's ball pit. In 1995, me as a senior in high school got a summer job at McDonald's to save up for my dream car, a 95 Stang. For the most part, I cleaned the store, including the play place. This McDonald's was really weird though, because from time to time, kids would go missing. The play place was pretty enclosed and we had no clue how this could have happened. The store was sued tons of times, but always won because there was no evidence by experts about it having any risks. The blame was usually put on the parents. I soon learned what the cause of the disappearances were. One day as I was cleaning tables, a scream erupted. A mother said her son had gone missing. A few kids said that they saw him fall into the ball pit and never came out. But as all the parents and employees were talking amongst themselves, their claims were dismissed, as fellow guests comforted the mom. After we closed up shop for the night and the police had left, I had to finish cleaning the store alone. I was curious about what those kids were saying about the ball pit. Oddly enough, that's the one spot I was never taught how to clean it. And you'd think that a place like that would have to be cleaned. I sprayed my towel with Kleenex and leaned my whole arm inside. Man, no wonder these kids got in so deep. I could put my whole arm inside. I took my broomstick and shoved it in, and it went all the way in. I couldn't feel the bottom. I then decided to step in. Just then I couldn't feel the floor. I decided to let the ball pit consume me, and I just kept sinking in. I'll show you what was on the other side next time.
Gruesome facts you didn't know, part 192. Removal of hemorrhoids in the Middle Ages was far from pleasant. Medieval physicians would use glowing red pieces of iron to burn them off, or just simply scrape them off using their fingernails. In 1989, the Buffalo Sabres goalie had his neck sliced by another player's skate, severing his carotid artery. The horrific accident caused so much blood loss that 11 fans fainted, 2 had heart attacks, and 3 players puked on the ice. Thankfully, his life was saved by the team trainer who served as a combat medic in the Vietnam War. In 1977, a devastating plane crash took the lives of the entire University of Evansville basketball team. The only member who survived was freshman David Furr, who was out for the season due to an ankle injury. Just 2 weeks after the plane crash, David and his younger brother were tragically killed in a car accident.
Today I learned about Marilyn Monroe's haunting bathroom.
kind of Final Destination-ish, dog.
Others were tragically killed in a car accident.
Today I learned about Marilyn Monroe's haunting backstory. Born Norma Jean Mortensen, Marilyn came from a broken family. She had no clue who her father was, and her mother wound up in a psychiatric hospital after being diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. This left Marilyn at the mercy of foster care, and that was a downright horror story. Behind closed doors, she suffered unspeakable traumas at the hands of some of her guardians. She developed a severe stutter, struggled at school, and most of all, felt utterly abandoned. At the age of 16, to escape being returned to the orphanage, she decided to marry her foster parents' neighbor, 21-year-old James Doherty. As a housewife, Marilyn found herself dying of boredom, but that was all about to change. In 1944, a photographer discovered Marilyn working at a munitions factory. Her beauty was her way out, so she left her husband and kicked off her career as a pinup girl. She took her first steps toward becoming the blonde bombshell by straightening and dyeing her hair. But when she finally signed a contract with an acting agency, you can bet she brought her childhood demons with her.
Today I'm going to be telling you about all the creepy, dark secrets
that's
of
my
IKEA
spot.
that you're not supposed to know about. So IKEA was purposely designed to be like a maze. It has been designed to take shoppers through every single department in the building, from the kitchen to the couches to the desks. They make sure that you see as
Real quick, I was in hell and while I was laughing, but yeah, I do be getting lost to that mug to this day, though. That definitely makes sense,
in
basically.
the building, from the kitchen to the couches to the desks. They make sure that you see as many items as possible before you leave. Employees apparently call this path the long natural way, and the pathway has to curve every 50 feet to keep customers from getting bored of being on this path. The next thing is that exits are very hard to find. Because they don't want you to leave, they make exits almost impossible to find so that you finish walking through an entire floor before leaving. Like, think about it. Every time I go to IKEA to be there for like 20 minutes max, I end up being there for like an hour. The next fact is that there are secret shortcuts. There are shortcuts through IKEA that are kept secret from the public so that only employees can use them to get around the store faster.
It tripped me out when I saw an employee walk through there. I was like, what the? It tripped me out, dog. I love IKEA, though.
Are kept secret from the public so that only employees can use them to get around the store faster. So you really have to keep an eye out for these secret passageways. Often they take the form of unmarked service doors. There's this employee that used to work at IKEA that literally said, if you know where to look, you will find them. The other thing is that these secret passageways often change. They change them fairly frequently because customers would get familiar with the shortcuts and know how to zip through the store. After a while, they would change the shortcuts to force people to go around the long way again. There's this creepypasta that I found called The Endless IKEA. And it says that if you don't leave IKEA before closing time, you'll be trapped there overnight in an endless maze, and employees aren't able to see you or help you. It's almost like you're trapped in this alternate dimension of IKEA world. The lights will be off, there'll be no one around, there's no doors to access, your phone won't work, and you will have to wander all of the paths until sunup. That just sounds like what would regularly happen to you if you got stuck in there overnight. Anyways though, if you've worked at IKEA before, let me know if any of these facts are true or false.
Oh, that is beautiful.
Facts
oh, wait.
you didn't.
No, that is freaking fire. And yes, I am still going to enjoy IKEA. Yo, basically what I was going to say was someone should really turn it into like an actual horror movie or short film or an actual game or something like The Backrooms. Freaking being stuck in IKEA, because I really do get stuck in that mug. But yo, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here and enjoy my day. You do the same thing. Enjoy your day, your morning, evening, night, whenever you're watching this video. But I'm out.